Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unsolved Crimes with Cassie and Tony. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to remind you guys we do have a contest going on our Facebook page. Follow us on Facebook as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for every time you like and share a new episode that drops on our Facebook, you'll be entered into a $50 gift card giveaway. You have until June 8th to enter. We will be going live on Facebook to announce the winner on June 8th.
So today's episode will be on Elizabeth Liz Barraza. She was a 29-year-old that was shot to death on January 25th of 2019. Before we get into that, I want to go ahead and let you guys know that we did reach out to some family members. Her parents have not responded as of yet. Her husband, Sergio, declined to be interviewed in our podcast. And then I did reach out to one of his friends that grew up with him, but knew Liz as well. They were really close friends. And the first thing that she told me was like, hey, I've known him for a long time. He didn't do this, etc. Right? My reply to her was, we don't want to grill him on our show. We just want to make sure that the story gets out there.
Right.
And to find some closure for this family, right? I asked her, since she has a lot of information on what happened that day and what happened throughout the investigations, she was there. If she wanted to actually come on our podcast, she apologetically did decline. But we'll continue to follow up and see if we ever get like her parents to want to talk about it. I know they're pretty open about it. They've been in so many different shows and just talking about the whole situation. But if we happen to get a response from them, I will go ahead and do a segment on the interview with them. Let's cross our fingers. I think they're pretty open. They just haven't responded yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But now getting into this episode itself. So Liz Barraza was 29 years old at the time that she was murdered. She was shot 4 times right in front of her home while setting up for a garage sale. Let's get into what happened that morning. It was a Friday morning. She took off of work. She was going to have a garage sale. Her husband, Sergio, did help her out a little bit in the morning to set up. At around 6:48 a.m., he left for work, but he was stopping at Lowe's. So Liz continued to set up on, the garage sale. While she was setting up, there was a pickup truck, a black pickup truck. I believe it was a Nissan Frontier that came around the neighborhood, parked. The person was well disguised. You can't even tell in the video, which I will show you guys here through at some point here on this episode. But so the person gets out of the truck, walks right to Liz, says something to her, right? And then she starts backing up. Liz does. Well, she was shot 3 times, and then when she fell to the ground, the suspect, right, actually the perpetrator, walked up to her and shot her 1 more time, which was the 4th time.
That's insane.
Yeah, he was.
And they were pretty close. It was like at close range.
Oh yeah,
those
yeah.
shots.
I mean, they went right in front of her, as you guys will see here momentarily in the video, which we will show. But I am going to warn you, it's graphic, right? If you don't want to see it, I suggest you fast forward a little bit. An interesting thing was the footage of their own Ring camera. It doesn't cover the angle of where Liz was, where the murder took place, but it does have some audio. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated, because I don't know if she knew the person or if she was just being polite. Because the individual went up to her and you can hear Liz say good morning.
Yeah.
So I don't know, right? It could be her being polite. She's setting up for a garage sale.
Right.
Maybe she thinks this is a customer. I don't know, right? But she does say good morning. Okay. So when this happens, her husband Sergio, he receives an alert on his phone from the Ring camera and rushes over to the scene, right? But here's the thing. Here we're gonna come in and out of the whole scene, right? So we know she's shot, she's taken away. Husband Sergio receives an alert on the phone. He looks at the phone, right? And he says, my God, what's going on, right? So he sees the police officers, the yellow tape around the house. But here's the thing. It took him 30 minutes to get there, right? Okay.
That's a little, I don't know, that kind of raises a red flag for me, because if it happened just a few minutes after you left and you see the notification, why did it take 30 minutes for you to get home?
That's true. It's the Lowe's that he was at would have been an 11-minute drive for him.
Okay.
But it took him 30 minutes. Why? We don't know, right? We don't know why happened. He claimed it takes 20 minutes. Well, you guys are going to see here on a GPS that it takes actually 11 minutes to get there. Her parents, who live past the Lowe's, made it there in a shorter time than he did.
Oh.
So they also got notified and they went out there.
I can't imagine
Nuts.
getting that notification and you curiously pop it open, like, oh, let me see what she's up to. I know she's setting up for the garage sale, and then seeing that on there.
Yeah. I mean, he couldn't see her, right? But he could see the police officers, and he could see the yellow tape that they used.
Was it reported who called the police?
Yes. So there was a neighbor across the street who heard the shots, looked out the window and saw her. So her husband actually ran out and walked up to Liz. And of course, she was laying there in a pool of blood. He waves at the wife and she calls 911. There were several people that heard the shots, just no one saw anything. Yeah. No one. That Frontier was captured in one of the neighbors' videos at 2 a.m. Wow. Just cruising around, like casing the place, right?
Yeah.
And then this happens at like 6:55 in the morning. To me, that was like someone wanted to make sure that Sergio was leaving before he or she went up there and killed her, right? I mean, there's the footage, you can't even tell if it's a man or a woman because they're in disguise, right? So you can't tell, in my personal opinion, the way they ran, the way they were moving. To me, it was a woman.
Right, I agree.
That's my opinion, but I could be wrong, right?
I did read somewhere too that she was a big Star Wars fan, and she was in a lot of these conventions and things like that. And a lot of people were speculating that the disguise that person was wearing looked like a stormtrooper outfit.
The boots.
Yes.
Yeah, because they were white boots.
So they were wondering if it could be someone from the groups she was in that maybe held a grudge for whatever reason. But that didn't really pull anything up.
It didn't pan out to anything because Sergio, he was in that group with her. He's like, no, they're caring people. They do for the community. They wouldn't do this. Now, he's no longer a suspect. I want to make that clear. Okay. But I also want to add these things that made him a suspect. While they took Liz to the hospital and he gets to the scene, he stays at the scene. And he showed no emotion, is what the investigators said. He stood at the scene instead of rushing to the hospital, to be with his wife who just got shot and may not even be alive, right?
Right.
But he didn't. He stood around the scene. And Liz was at the hospital fighting for her life, and still no emotions based on what police records show, right? So who knew she was going to be there at the garage sale, right?
Right.
It was a very limited amount of people that knew. Of course, her co-workers, because she took the day off. It was a Friday, right? Her parents, her husband, and Sergio's mom. Those were the people that knew. Okay, but here's the thing. So that person in the truck knew?
Right.
Right? Because if you're going to go murder someone, right? It's a Friday. Don't you expect that person to be at work?
Right.
But no, she wasn't at work. She had taken the day off. So obviously this person knew
Where she
that
would
she
be,
had the
what time.
day
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're trying to figure out who knew, right, about the garage sale. When they asked them about when did you put out the flyers for the garage sale, the signs, he said it was Friday morning. That same Friday morning is when he put them up, right?
Oh.
But then he changes his story and says it was Thursday night. Later on in an interview, that's what he says. No, it was Thursday night. So which one was it? So if it was Thursday night, there's a possibility people knew.
Right.
But if it was Friday morning, how are people going to know? Even Thursday night. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to know, right? But obviously, the person that shot her and murdered her knew that she was going to be there.
Yeah.
Those were the red flags that the officers had. And then when they digged in a little bit more, they realized that she had a 500,000 life insurance policy and he was to get that money, right?
Oh
He was
man.
the
Why does it?
beneficiary. But here's the thing. They investigated him. He took a polygraph test and he passed it as
Wow.
well, right?
Okay.
And he hasn't cashed in on the policy as of yet. And it's
Wow.
been, what, 6 years now?
Okay.
And he still hasn't cashed in on the policy, is what investigators are stating. So
Wow.
he's no longer a suspect based on that. You know,
Mhm.
he passed the polygraph test. I know those things can be, you can beat them, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah.
And then the theory was his dad did it so that he can get the insurance money so that they can save his business.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. After they investigated, that bounce check was a one-time thing. It was an error from the bank. And right away, Sergio's dad, he didn't hide anything. He's like, oh yeah, I have a lot of girlfriends. I do this.
Oh wow.
I do that. Yeah. So he didn't lie. He was forthcoming with the investigation. He also took a polygraph test and passed it.
Wow.
In my opinion, this looks like a murder for hire.
She had to have known the person, or like you said, a murder for hire. Had to there must have been someone out there that wanted her gone for whatever reason.
Absolutely. It's a crazy one because to this date, there's really no answers.
That's insane.
The investigator said, this is one of the hardest case I've ever had. And keep in mind, look, they have the truck on video.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get a plate. The video wasn't that great. So they have someone coming out shooting her, right? But they can't tell who it is because they're wearing a disguise.
I get the vibe it wasn't that person's first time doing that.
And that could be it, because if you looked at the video we showed you here earlier, you'll see where they just walk right up to her, right? Obviously, they have a conversation. They say something to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming based on their own ring camera, what Liz says is good morning, but you can't hear what the other person is saying.
Right.
And then shoots her 3 times, then walks up and shoots her a 4th time on the ground. That person wanted to make sure that person was dead. My theory is because the murderer came back like 4 minutes afterwards,
Yeah.
and drove in front of their house again, tells me they wanted to make sure this person was dead.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my opinion.
And I feel like in this day and age, technology is a lot better. I think back to the Chris Watts case, how he just flat out failed. I feel like they would have failed that too, had they really had something to do with it. But you know what? I'm almost wondering if it was maybe one of his dad's mistresses, even. Like, how much information did they know about his family?
But what would they gain? You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? What would they gain? I think it would have been more like one of Sergio's mistresses if he had one. He did not have one, but I figured that would make more sense. But he did remarry 2 years later. He claimed to have met somebody 6 months after or something like that, who he's married to now. But there's no indication that she was involved or anything. She did work in a car dealership. They did have a black pickup truck at that time.
Wow.
It wasn't the same Nissan, but they did have one.
Wow.
But nothing never really,
Came of that.
yeah, nothing came of that. So it's kind of it's hard to say. It is a tough one.
It
Right?
is.
It
It's
is a
hard to
tough one.
have an exact theory on it because it's like any theory that you're going to have, I feel has been debunked,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because my first theory would be it was the husband. We always go, it was the husband, it was
Right.
the spouse.
Right.
And then even him pointing the fingers at his dad, which that's a little crazy to me to instantly say, you know, like, oh, it's got to have been my dad then. But who else? You know, who else do you have?
I did see him in an interview afterwards, and he said they did ask him about his dad, and he did state that he's still not sure. He says, I don't know.
Wow.
He doesn't talk to him
Yeah.
right now, so he doesn't know. He wished that his dad could tell him something, is what he said, but he just
Yeah.
doesn't know. But I mean, I don't know
Oh,
what
that's
he will gain from
right.
that, right? The dad, I don't know. And usually it's kind of fishy when people start pointing fingers at others.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, Sergio's no longer a suspect. You know, he was investigated.
Yeah.
They found nothing whatsoever that'll link him to anything. And he passed the polygraph test. So
this is a tough one.
It's a tough one. I really do think someday something will come up with this case because it had to have been a murder for hire. Had to have been.
Yeah.
The reason for it, we don't know. They did go ahead and did an investigation as well on her job, right? So they went to her job. Everyone that was supposed to be there was there.
Wow.
On that day, so obviously was nothing there. They also checked to see if maybe she uncovered like something going on at work, and because of that she got murdered, but there was nothing. They looked into her work, what she did, and there was just nothing there.
Wow. And so, no employee off that they took the same day off as her?
None.
Wow.
None whatsoever. None.
Yeah, this one's tough.
It is. But eventually I got a good feeling that this one will get solved. I am going to continue to reach out to the parents. I haven't gotten any response yet. Hopefully they will respond and are willing to come on our podcast for an interview, just to kind of get their take and what they experienced that day, right? Like what happened in their eyes and what they believe happened, and maybe they have information that no one has, right? That may, I'm sure if they had something that will crack the case, they would have said, right. But maybe there's little bits and pieces, right? Like, for example, was Liz in any kind of trouble? Did Liz have any friends that were out there like that, right? We don't know that, right? They said no, but we don't know that. So we just don't know. But what we're going to do is, we're just like any other case that we do a podcast on. If there's any additional information, we will go ahead and post on it. If it's very significant, then we'll create a part 2 to the episode. Hopefully they will reach out. Hopefully Sergio will change his mind and wants to come on.
Right.
He did say he was just going to pass on this time, is what he stated, that he would pass this time. But hopefully he may come on, and hopefully maybe her parents will decide to come on and do an interview with us. The more we get this out there, the better the chances, right?
Yes.
And it's just not just us. Cassie and I, we're a little small podcast right now. You know, we don't get as many views as those huge podcast channels, but we love what we do. And one of our passions is to see cases like this being solved, right? And that's what we strive for. So if we have anything else, we will go ahead and either post or do a podcast, but we will let you know. With that said, thank you all for tuning in and listening to our podcast. Quick reminder, like and share every single video that we post on Facebook. And if you've already followed and subscribed, that's still going to get you a chance to win a $50 gift card, which Cassie and I will be live on Facebook on June 8th to pick the winner. Within the next couple weeks, maybe a month at the latest, our podcasts are going to be video.
Yes.
So that means you'll get to see my ugly face along with my daughter, Cassie. I think it'll be more fun. So look out for that as well. They have a $50,000 reward for any information that leads to solving this case. If anyone out there has any information, please call that number and let them know. Our goal is to get this case solved. Okay.
And bring Liz to justice. Get
That
her the
is right. They
justice she
deserve.
deserves.
Yeah, that is true. Well, once again, thank you. And I hope you guys have a great day.